You're watching Through the Looking Glass with Dr. Jenny Klein.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jenny Klein, and I've missed you, so I'm back with a new show for us all. It's about our feelings, fears, and fantasies, our pain and our pleasure, our problems and our solutions. It's a time for us to get together, talk things over, think things over, and find out that we are not alone. Perhaps that way we can all help each other make this world and our lives just a little bit better. Did you ever have this plan, great plans that you can do this great big thing, and you're so enthused, and then you find yourself sitting there watching TV and goofing off completely? Let's take a closer look at just that issue. Bill, how are you?
Fine, Dr. Klein. I don't think my wife's any good, but I think I'm okay.
What's with your wife?
She called me a disappointment. She said, "You're a big disappointment." I said, "You know what? Why am I a disappointment? I started the kitchen, and I didn't finish it in her time."
Oh, when did you start it?
About a month ago.
Were you thinking about it first?
Well, I thought about it. I mean, I have a plan in my head. I can get it done. I'm not even worried about it.
Oh, okay. So what did you do?
Well, you know, it's football season.
So you didn't really start it.
Well, I did demolition. I started the demolition. I mean, I did that part.
You did the whole thing? The whole demolition?
Oh, part of it.
Part of it.
It was getting dusty. She was complaining about the dust, so I said, hell with it. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, well, if I can't do it all at once, why do anything?
I know I could do it. You see, you don't understand. You're getting like her. I know I can get it done. It's a matter of when I want to get it done.
Oh, I see. When do you want to get it done?
Well,
Want?
as soon as possible.
What does that mean?
What?
You have
Trust
a
me,
whole,
when I put my energy into this, I'll get it done. I mean, like that.
like that.
Like that. Just like that. 'Cause
You want to do it like that
Yeah, why not?
because everything takes time.
That's what she said. But then you know what I told her? I said she's a perfectionist. That's her problem.
She's a perfectionist,
Yeah.
but you want to get it done like that. What does that sound like?
I know.
You should do it all at
Yeah. If I'm
immediately.
going to do it, I'm going to do it all at once. It's like when I was in school and I did my homework. I'd do it all at once.
every subject at the same time.
Yeah.
That's impossible.
I did it. I didn't do it well, but I did it. I'm not saying it was perfect, okay?
Oh, okay.
You know.
So
Could
if
I have
you
done
want-
better? Yeah.
So if you want to do this
Yeah.
and it's not perfect, does that bother you? They can't get it done quick?
What?
Because you have it in your head, why isn't it done?
Yeah. Well, there are other things to do too.
Excuse me. Did you imagine and construct the plans in your mind?
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's what she said. She goes, "Where's the drawings?" I said, "I got them up here."
and what part of your mind did you get it done like this in? Your imagination or reality?
Well, that's okay. I'll agree with you. Imagination. But
It's
I got a good
wonderful-
mind. I'm very imaginative.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the fact is, your imagination is great for conceptualizing, for thinking of pictures, for thinking about it, and then you do something with that, and you put it down on paper, or you measure it, or you destruct it, or take it down and put it up, and get the paint, and do all the little details. But in your imagination, it's all done already.
Well, that's how my mom used to cook. She didn't write anything down. She just threw things together. It was good.
But she didn't just imagine cooking, she actually did the cooking.
Yeah.
Even if
but
she didn't write it
there was no recipe. And that's what she says about the drawing.
But
She
you
goes,
can-
it's like a recipe. I
But
said,
you said you had the pictures all in your head.
they're in there.
Oh, that's good. And how big is the kitchen table going to be?
No, I'll let her buy the kitchen table. I'm
Oh, I
not
see.
dealing with that. I'm just dealing with putting up the cabinets, a new sink.
How
you
are
know.
you dealing with it in your head?
Yeah.
Does that get it done?
It's not that it gets it done, but you know you have a pre-planning stage, and I'm in the
Right.
pre-planning stage. Yeah.
And What do you do when you have to move on to the doing stage? What have you been doing lately? It's football season, you said. You watching
Yeah, well,
TV?
so I sit down, I watch a couple minutes, and before I know it, to be honest with you, before I know it,
It's the end of the day.
yeah, that's what she said.
Well, sometimes when we imagine something and see it all done, and then it takes time to do it, it feels like we're less powerful than our imagination was.
Yeah, but
Because
Yeah.
we can't do it. That's not a failure, that's a fact.
yeah, but the thing is, I feel this weird split in me. I mean, there's part of me that really wants to get it done, and I honestly answer and I tell her I'm going to get it done today, and she says, no, you're not. And she says no, and then part of me's thinking, you know what, maybe she's right.
Well,
And
how
I'm
are
not
you
even-
going to, the only way you get something done is by doing it. First you plan it with your head,
Yeah.
but then it takes a long time to make what you see yourself doing in your mind to actually do it. That takes real time. And that feels like less powerful than what you imagine how you'll do it and it's all done. So it's almost like a lesser self would take time to do it if you don't do it like this.
Yeah. So, but
Then
I've,
it's a lesser you, not so powerful. But the only way to really do something for anything else you've actually finished.
I don't
it's to
finish
take-
much. That's the problem.
Well, sometimes I don't either. Sometimes I imagine, oh, I should clean up all my files. And then I sit there and watch Law and Order or something. But what am I doing? I'm finishing it in my mind, and not one file got filed.
Well, that's
Nothing.
what she's saying. You know,
And
finishing
I
your mind.
decided that it's not a failure to do one page at a time, one folder at a time. So that's how I have to correct this magical thinking within me. No matter how many years I'm doing this, this is one area I didn't apply it to. So I understand exactly where you're coming from, buddy. You're
Yeah.
not alone.
Well, see, we're in the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're in the same goof off because it can't be done instantly, and therefore I'm a failure. You're not a failure. Because I found as long as I don't use my imagination it's good for planning, but in the doing of it, you can't get it done like that. I can't either. So I say, how it gets done is one folder at a time. I throw out, then I reorganize it, and guess what? My desk is getting a little lower in files.
But you know, I really do believe I can get it done.
Honey, belief is, I believe I can fly too. Did you ever do this when you were a kid?
Yeah, when I
Hey,
was a
Mommy,
kid.
I can fly.
Yeah.
Well, was that real or was that imaginary?
It's imaginary, but in my head.
Right, but you couldn't really fly until you got on a plane because you're not a bird.
Yeah.
But you could imagine it. So there's a lesser self that isn't as all-powerful and instant as that perfect, infinite, imaginary one who just blinks and it's done.
But
You're not a failure in comparison to your imagination. Those are two different parts of you. You obviously have a very good mind, a very good imagination, and the doing of it seems irrelevant.
Exactly.
Right.
Now you understand. She
Yeah.
doesn't understand. You
No, she
tell it
doesn't
to
under-
her.
Yeah, but you say you're going to do it, and then you don't. You imagined it, but you didn't do it because it takes more time.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of work just to plant it in your
Good,
head.
then get yourself a carpenter, pay him, and let him do it.
Nah, see, no. I'm old school. I got to do it on my own.
But you're not doing it. Because you can't do it like this, you consider it a failure, then you put yourself down.
Yeah, part of me does feel like a failure. But the other part knows
who
I can do
who
it.
calls you a failure? The imaginary?
Imaginary self, I guess.
Right.
Because, you know.
Because it's infinite. Imagination is infinite. I can fly as a boy, but I can't really. That's not a failure. That's a difference between the imagination's power and real power in carrying out the task. And it doesn't go like this.
Yeah,
It
but she
goes one
keeps
thing.
harping on it.
You keep harping on imagination is my superior self, and doing it makes me a lesser person. Taking time to do it.
And what I
That's it.
said to her, she goes, I think you have ADD. I said, no, I have IDC. She She goes, what, that? I said, I don't care. I don't care what you say.
Yeah,
So-
but she's saying reality things to you. And you're living in an imaginary world and as if it's all done. And when you're watching football,
But in my head, it sort of is done. It sounds crazy, but
it's in your head, but it's not getting it done. And she's looking at the reality part.
yeah.
Okay?
She goes, how am I going to cook in this kitchen with all this dust all over the place?
Okay, what if she says, listen, I'm going to make the most incredible Thanksgiving. Well, let me show you what I'm going to make. I'm going to say this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Comes to Thanksgiving, she doesn't get out of bed. Because you already did it in imagination. Are you going to have a nice Thanksgiving dinner? No.
No.
Because unless she can do it like that, she's a failure.
Well, she says, I'll be lucky if I get it done by Thanksgiving.
Reality is not a failure. Reality is doing things in real time. Imagination is a wonderful quality, and it can be helpful, but not without reality to fulfill what your plans are. You're not a failure just because it takes real time to do what you imagined so nicely.
Yeah, but when people call you a disappointment, how does that make you feel?
You probably are calling yourself a disappointment unless you can do it like that. So you don't do it at all, because anything less than 100% fast, instant, is a failure in our imaginary mind, but it's not really, in a real sense, a failure at all.
Yeah, but why didn't she try something else? Why didn't she praise it? The fact that I even started it.
You're praising it, but you're not doing what you imagined and worked out in your mind. It's not a shame to take time to carry out what you imagined and planned. Did you ever take a trip in a car?
Yeah,
Like, where'd you go?
California.
Uh-huh. Did you plan the trip?
Sort of.
Sort of. You had an idea in your mind.
Right.
How long, and you imagine yourself being in California.
Yeah,
How'd you actually get there?
I had to drive out there.
Oh. That wasn't a failure? Because you imagined being there in about 2 seconds.
In my head, I saw myself there.
Right. However, the only way to really get to California is to get in the car and drive 3,000 miles.
That's
Right?
the part I didn't like. You're right. Yeah.
Because that's a lesser you than the one that you imagined. Because if I imagine it, why can't I fly, Mommy? I just imagined I could. So I'm a lesser person because I can't fly. That's not true.
But I really do believe I can do it.
How fast, like this?
Fast, but maybe not this fast.
How about reality time? Go.
See, I
the
hate that
lumber.
word. You know, I don't like that word.
I know.
You know,
Reality is so much less than I am in my imagination. I understand it very well. Now you have to. One thing at a time is not a failure.
yeah, but I can do a couple things at the same time. I've always been able. I can multitask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At the exact same time?
sort of.
You can be in the car going to California and build your kitchen at the same time?
No, I can't do that. It's
Oh.
ridiculous.
That is ridiculous, and it's ridiculous to put yourself down for it, because you can only be in one place at the same time, at one time.
I don't need anyone, but she's putting me down.
Oh, well then we can get mad at her instead of fight the battle between the one inside that's putting you down because you didn't finish it just because you imagined it. It's not done yet, so you don't have to put yourself down. She does it for you, and you can battle it out with her,
You're right. She does a hell of a job. She won't quit.
and you won't change.
Exactly.
But you're fighting an internal battle with an external person.
I never thought about it that way. I never looked at it that way.
Well, she's putting you down. It's not, but your imagination says, well, if it isn't done like this, you're less than I am. So you don't have to feel that because you have your wife putting you down, doing it for you. She's
Yeah, she
beating
goes,
you.
"What are you, godlike?" I said, "What are you talking about?"
God is like, I can imagine I'm everywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
I can do everything,
That's what she
multitask
said.
and everything.
Yeah, it's exactly what she said.
She's very close to the imagination that says there is an omnipotence that I have which doesn't require me to actually do anything. that I am omnipotent and I can just think of it and it'll be done like that.
Don't you wish you could do that?
I wish lots of things, and I know exactly where you're coming from. I wish that I could make you see this without doing the work that I did for years to continue to do my files now. Because I said, I should go to school, I should go to school. Well, I did go to school. It took day by day by day by day by day, and I got all my degrees and everything else. And that was very nice. But in my mind, I could imagine it and never get them. And you can imagine your kitchen, never get it. But you have your wife to put you down for that, so you don't have to hate yourself for not being instant magic.
I mean, you have a point, but it's like,
I'll make that point again next week.
well,
And you want to think about that. Think about, imagination is a wonderful quality, but we have to know that reality is how the plans that you imagine get done. They don't get done in imagination, they get planned and thought about, which is good. It's a great quality, unless it beats the hell out of your reality.
well, that's what I told her. It's a great quality. I said, if you only could see the kitchen I have in my mind.
And if you could only see that she'd like to see the kitchen you have in your mind become a reality, you'd be both on the same page and you wouldn't need her to beat you up, so you don't have to. Okay.
I laugh about it.
You have a sense of humor.
I have to laugh about it because it's,
Yes.
you know, at one level,
It's, you know, let me tell you something, Bill. There is no person that is born without an imagination and without reality. And we don't teach people that what they build in their mind is not necessarily. It's great to have imagination, but you have to combine those two excellent faculties, the reality of doing it and the imagination to plan it. Those are two different parts of us, and both are valid. But you don't want to think you're lesser because you can't do it like this. You can imagine it, but you can't do it like this.
oh, yeah.
Because in reality, everything takes time. Imagination's a wonderful quality too, but you don't want to beat your real self to death because you don't live up to that imaginary instant thing.
Maybe that's one reason I just drag my feet, according to what she says.
Of course, if you don't do it instantly, then you're a failure. That's not true.
No,
That's
I just, well, you know,
You're not at
how
all.
fast you want it? You want it just like that? I got, you know, and it's like, well, she plays a stupid game with me.
You play a game with yourself.
In a way, but if she stopped, I would stop.
I don't think so.
Really?
The only person that makes you stop is you by understanding and talking about these things to yourself, back and forth. It's good to imagine. It's good to plan. I do have a good mind. And now it's not diminished, my good mind and my ability to visualize and multitask. It's not diminished by the reality of the time it takes to do each and everything. I'm not diminished by that. It's a wonderful combination. It's not a lesser self.
Yeah, but it sort of feels like when you get your report card, remember? Bill does not work up to his potential.
Whose
He
potential
has
is in-
ability, but he does not work up to his potential.
because that magical self said, well, I imagined it. It's in my head, but I haven't done my homework.
Well,
I
I did the
haven't
first
done it.
problem. I had it right. Why should I go do the other ones?
Well, that's because you need to do what the teacher expects you to do to pass the course.
That's what she said, too.
You can have very, very bright people, but they figure they can be bright, but they don't have to take real time to do real work, because then they're lesser than their imaginative self. That's not true. Winning combination is a great imagination, a good mind, and reality. To follow it through. Reality takes much more time. To complete what you have imagined, they can be partners, not enemies. I can make a plan with my head, but if my hands don't do it in real time,
I still struggle with that because it's
Yeah,
like,
you think you're a failure if you can't do it in magical time.
well, there's a voice in my head saying I can do it.
In magical without doing it.
In a weird way, yeah. Sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Well, that voice you got to talk back to, because if it talks to you, you can look up at the light and say, "Shut up. You imagined it, and now I'm going to do it." It's not a failure to actually take real time to do it. It's not a slower me.
Well, you're right. I do sort of sometimes feel like I don't even want to verbalize it with you. That I feel like a fair, and she's just putting the nail in the coffin when she says what she says. And I'm thinking, I'm already feeling that way. I don't even know why you're bringing it up.
Because you're beating yourself up because you haven't done what you
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell her.
No, but you're telling me.
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate, but I'm trying to explain to you why, if you look at it in a different way, like driving to California, you didn't consider that a failure because it took you 5-6 days to drive.
Yeah.
But you imagined it in a blink.
I got there.
Why? Because you made a plan, got a map with GPS, and then you got in the car and you drove mile by mile to California. That's how you got there. Combination of a plan, which is an imaginary thing, you haven't done it yet, and doing it. See? One's not better than the other, they're a team. My imaginary me and my real me.
Well, I gotta,
Just different parts of me. I don't have to hate myself because it takes more time than like this.
but how do I let it go?
Let what go?
The fact that I think I can do this.
You talk back and say, I'm not going to listen to you, that if I don't do it instantly, I'm a loser. If it takes me time to do it, my brilliance isn't enough. That's why the teacher said you're not living up to your potential.
Yeah, but it's throughout my whole life when I can almost sew a pattern of things like that.
That's the internal system that is putting out the pattern you can see.
Yeah.
The two cells, my imaginary me, instant,
Yeah.
perfect, or nothing. It's a hero zero thing.
Like
If
the
you-
boss says, can you get it done? Yeah, I can get it done.
And then you don't do
I
it.
don't do it.
No, because if you can't get it done like that, you're a failure. That's not true. These can be partners, reality and your thinking about it and imagining it done.
I can't believe I agree to some things sometimes. I think,
Well,
did I
sure,
really
because you
say
don't
that?
have to do it, because you don't have to do it. And so your wife can beat you up for it, and then you can fight with her instead of the guy upstairs
but-
that says, well, if you imagine it should be done already, you shouldn't actually have to do it in real life, in real time.
You know what? She said she's going to hire a contractor.
She's smart.
What do you mean she's smart? Because I'm going to tell her if this contractor does it, I could have done it.
If you all imaginary thing, and then you're not a failure if you actually take time to do what you planned. Well, California was the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's crazy. I'm crazy.
We're all crazy, honey. We're all crazy because we're not aware of what's going on in that 90% of our brain. That's our unconscious mind.
Yeah, but see, I can tell you I'm struggling with this.
Yeah, I
And I
know.
could tell you.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have come. You're a smart
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Well, I don't like being called a disappointment either.
By yourself.
At a real level, you're right. I probably did it.
That guy who's going to say, I imagine it, why isn't it done yet? And say, I'm not a failure because I can imagine quicker than I can actually build the kitchen.
That's a tough one. It
Well,
really
you're a
is.
very bright guy just to even get this concept.
Yeah, but I don't even want to tell her what we talked about.
You don't have to.
Good.
You have to fight this one out with yourself, not your wife. All she sees is the reality of things. She doesn't understand this, why you're not doing it. You just think, what is that? You have good intentions, but this guy stops you because if you actually have to do it, anything less than this makes you a failure. That's not true.
Well, you're right. I do have good intentions.
Yes, you do, and you have a good planning mind, a thinking mind. However, it is not a failure to take real time to achieve what you planned. Just like California, you didn't fail because you drove there. You got there because you drove there. You didn't get there through your imagination that you could go blink and be there.
I could see myself there, but you're right, I had to drive.
What's wrong with that? Was that a failure?
It's not a failure.
It's not as fast as seeing
Not as
yourself.
fast as I would want
But you
it.
don't really get to California with your imagination, do you?
No.
Oh, okay. You won't really get a kitchen without the real self doing it. That's not a failure. That's a combination. It's partnership.
Just wish I was like Merlin with a wand and I could say boom, 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 and it's done.
Magical powers,
Yeah,
huh?
I
Never
wish.
lives up to your to your potential. That's what they saw, but they didn't know how to teach you differently. The imagination is one thing. It's a great plan. It's a wonderful quality, and doing it is not a lesser self. Taking time to do it, actually, in reality, is not a lesser self. They work as a team, but this guy hates this guy because he's slower than this guy. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to see you next week, right?
Oh yeah, we gotta finish this.
Yeah, we got to finish it fast. We got to finish it fast without the practice. Okay, go and listen into yourself there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you next week. Okay, in case you really got wrapped up in that and you relate to that, this is not Bill at all. This is Eddie Nieves. Eddie, Dr. Eddie Nieves, my dear friend who's been doing this show for years and years, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Eddie.
You're welcome.
Thank you to Eddie Nieves, and thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see the show on YouTube, or tell your friends if they can see it on YouTube, just go to Dr. Ginny Klein under YouTube, and they'll show the show, because my wonderful camera guy and production company, Premier Media, Kaz Beelan, has put that on YouTube, which I didn't even occur to me, technically brilliant as I am, to do that. So he's put the shows on YouTube, and you can watch them there. And that was very nice. Anyway, I want to thank Kaz Beelan, too, because he's been with me since my last show on teenagers and this show. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have these. So I want to thank you for watching. When you see me about town, say hello, and just give me a call, and if you have an idea for a show, let me know what it is. The number's right on the screen. Take care, be real good to yourself, and just keep looking through the looking glass.
Dr. Jenny Klein would love to hear from you. Email her, jennyklein@gmail.com, or give her a call at 908-722-2933. If you'd like to see more, feel free, just go to drjennyklein.com.